Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Pits of Metal Chaos. It's your host, Dave. I got a special guest, Matt Sokul, vocalist, guitarist for the band Wraith. How's it going, Matt?
Good. How are you?
Good, man. So give me a little bit of history of this band, man.
I'm sorry. What was it?
I think can you give me a little history of this band?
Sure. So it started as a solo project, 2016, maybe early 2017. I wrote about half of the first release by myself. Recorded it. There's like demo tracks, and Mike has actually been in a band with me prior to this for quite a while, but he had moved to Florida, so I was just talking to him one day, and I showed it to him. He thought it was really cool. Just so happened that he ended up moving back to the area, so he recorded all the drums for me on the first album. So once he got back in the area and got situated, it was just kind of a no-brainer to have him join. So started playing some shows, had another friend of ours, Adriano, jump on the bass, played as that version of Wraith as a three-piece for a little while. Adriano left to pursue some other stuff, and Chris filled in because we were playing with the Verukers in Chicago, and we needed a bass player because we didn't want to drop the show. He learned all the songs and jumped in, and we started writing Heed the Warning next, and I think kind of the rest is history.
Now you guys are based out of Indiana?
Yeah, the very northwest corner of Indiana, so we're about 30 minutes south of Chicago.
Now, how's your following out there in Indiana?
I mean, Chicago's, pretty big city, so I think we have lots of people that support us in the cities. Northwest Indiana, the music community is fantastic. It's not the biggest, but everybody's really supportive in the area that we live.
So now, prior to this band, have you played in any other bands?
Yeah, so I was in a band called Headlock. It was spelled Hedlok. We did that for about 4 or 5 years. It was a similar style of music.
Now, did you take lessons, or were you self-taught on guitar?
Self-taught, yeah. I mean, I took like a trial lesson, I think more to prove to my parents that it was something I wanted to do. But after that, it was just me listening to, records I liked and trying to learn songs and write songs on my own, and just as a creative outlet.
So what were some of the bands that influenced you?
Oh, man, Metallica, Megadeth, Venom, Slayer, Motorhead were like the big metal ones, and then, Black Flag, the Ramones, the Misfits. I love the first 3 Danzig records, and I could spend days and days and days listening to music.
So do you remember what kind of guitar was the first guitar you owned?
Ironically enough, my very first guitar was a BC Rich Warlock, so I think metal was meant to be.
Yeah. Now, do you still own that guitar?
Not any other instrument, you start messing around, hearing it with a different, from a different perspective, and it'll spark a riff. So if I ever feel like I can't write anything on guitar, sometimes I'll put the guitar down and pick a bass up, and I'll start, messing around on that to see if I can get something going.
So now, out of those 5 guitars, which ones are your go-to guitars to play on stage?
So I predominantly play, it's a Schecter Explorer, their version of an Explorer, and I took out the stock pickups and put some Duncans in it, a JB and a Jazz in it, and then just recently I bought a G&L Rampage, so it's like the Chris Cornell signature model, just got one humbucker in it, no neck pickup, it's like a total riff machine.
Now, the new recording, Absolute Power, how long did it take to record that?
We did Absolute Power in, so the first day, it was probably 8 hours, and we did the drums, bass, and rhythm guitar tracks. Then another day for the lead parts, probably a day for vocals, and then a day for just kind of touching some things up. So 4 days, but probably 20 hours total.
Now, where was it recorded at?
We actually recorded in my basement. So in my basement in Northwest Indiana.
Now, you produced and all that?
No. There's a gentleman named CJ Racing that we have recorded everything with. So Joe Grind did some producing for us on Heed the Warning, but this album CJ recorded and produced totally by himself. So he's a great guy. He's been helping us out for a long time. He's got a cool portable studio, and we have a jam room at my house. So he brought his stuff over, and we just drink some beers and play music till we feel like we got it right.
Now, who writes all the lyrics for the band?
I write all the lyrics.
Now, what do you get? Where do you get your inspiration from to write the lyrics for the songs?
Honestly, the inspiration for lyrics is it could be anything. I think the cool part about music is it doesn't have to mean to you what it means to me when I wrote it. So I always try to be kind of ambiguous, but I've got inspiration from shitty Chicago winters to just kind of turning on the news, or like I'll hear a cool story and my imagination will start to run wild. But yeah, it could be anything.
Now, who writes all the music?
The music is pretty collaborative, man. We all come to the table with stuff, and then we kind of do the old school band thing. We still practice every single week. We hang out with each other all the time. We're talking to each other every day, but the riffs are kind of shared amongst all of us, and usually it's all it takes is one riff, and we kind of get the train rolling. And at practice, it'll be everybody kind of throwing their opinion in to try to build a song. Even Mike, plays drums, but he's written, quite a few riffs. Chris plays guitar, and he writes the riffs. I play bass. I wrote the drum parts for some of the songs before Mike was in the band. So it's honestly, we all share the responsibility of getting the songs put together.
Now, how did you guys come up with the band name Wraith?
Wraith I came up with Wraith because I was actually watching Lord of the Rings, and there was a scene where the ring wraiths were there, and I just thought they looked super badass. So, without really thinking too much into it, I didn't know how serious I was going to do it. I did know that the songs I had I wanted to release, and I needed a name to do it. So I came up with the Wraith from watching the movie, and then the guy who does my tattoos, his name is Felix Roman. I just shot him a message and asked if he could use kind of the rough reference of the Wraiths from the movie to draw a logo, and he came up with that. The cover of the first album is just that Reaper face with the Wraith spelled around it. He drew that up, and that's kind of how it started.
Now, are you big into the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit?
Anything kind of fantasy. Yeah, I'm into any of that. Big Lord of the Rings fan, though. Yeah.
Now, what's been your greatest memory of being in this band so far?
I think honestly, releasing Absolute Power, it's been amazing how kind of it's spread and grown since we put it out, and all the positive feedback we've gotten, and just how it's impacted people. I think music has always meant a lot to me, and I've got a very nostalgic feeling of putting on certain albums and getting those emotions inside kind of stirring up. And the fact that people have said that this album has done that for them, I think is great. And I think that if I could do that forever, I'd be happy.
Now, what's been one of your most memorable tours?
So we haven't really done any super long tours, but the best, I would say, or most memorable out-of-state show we played was in Minneapolis, Minnesota. There's a private skate park called the Blood Bowl. And there's an awesome group of guys up there that invited us for like a benefit show for supporting the bowl. So we went up there and played, and everybody's always really cool. It's a big party. Everybody grills out, skates, and tons of good music, and it's just a lot of fun, man. People in Minneapolis are badass.
Yeah, what was the last show you guys played?
We played at the Livewire Lounge in Chicago, I think, maybe a month or so ago, with Black Knife and a couple other bands that were on tour. That was a blast. But we have kind of intentionally not played shows for the last couple of months because we wanted to get a kind of a jump start on writing the next record. But that's moving along pretty well, so we are going to play some shows late winter, early spring. We're going to be bouncing around a little bit.
Yeah, I know you guys are playing the Randy Castor's Blades of Steel Festival in April.
Yeah, we're going to be there Friday. I think Friday at the Cactus Club.
Yeah, have you ever played any shows for Randy before?
No, this will be the first time.
Yeah, it should be a good time. His festivals are always, awesome. He's a great guy.
Yeah, definitely, man. It seems like he's got a lot of really cool bands, and he's been really cool. So we're excited to get up there and play.
Yeah, he always treats the bands real good, man.
Yeah, it seems like he seems like a very good guy.
Now, with the new disc Absolute Power, how's the sales going so far?
Sales have been awesome, man. We've kind of sold out and pressed it a few times on CD, and I think we're just about sold out of vinyls. Yeah, I mean, it seems like people are really liking it, so we can't complain. It's been fantastic. Every time we run out, we order a new batch, and they seem to go through pretty quickly.
All right, now besides the Blaze of Steel Festival, you have any other gigs lined up right now?
Yeah, so we're playing at Black Circle Brewery in Indianapolis, Indiana, on the 29th of February, I believe. And then we're playing at Reggie's Rock Club in Chicago with Violence. They're doing a handful of shows this year, so we're very, very, very excited about that. We have that festival in Milwaukee, so we're going to try to keep as busy as we can through the spring.
So what are some of the biggest bands you guys have shared the stage with so far?
I mean, I think playing with the Verukers was awesome. That's a band that I really liked a lot, kind of in my punk rock days. We're looking forward to playing with Violence. We've played with Ringworm. I mean, we've played with a bunch of really fantastic bands.
So what kind of advice would you give the, newer up-and-coming bands?
Don't stop. I always talk about, music, and it's kind of a cutthroat business, and if you believe in what you're making and you can stand behind it and it doesn't seem like bullshit, you just got to keep going, man. It's never going to happen overnight, but I think, hard work definitely pays off, especially when it comes to music. So if you think you're coming up with good stuff, you just got to keep kind of pounding it down people's throats until, everybody else opens their eyes and sees it. So
now, do you have any funny or embarrassing moments from any of your shows you've done in the past?
Oh man, there's been tons. I think it never goes according to plan, but some funny kind of stories from being out and about. One time we played at the Cobra Lounge in Chicago, and our bass player had just bought a new bass, and we played essentially the whole set with him out of tune. And we played with Whip Striker from Brazil, and at the end of the show, the guys were all being really cool and supportive and telling us it sounded great. And then one guy was just kind of brought up the fact that the bass was out of tune the whole time, but we just laughed it off. That was funny. Another time we went up to Minneapolis, we stayed at an Airbnb. It was kind of in the middle of nowhere, and it was just the creepiest experience. It was definitely was somebody's house. All their stuff was still in it. We had Jason who plays, the solos on some of the tracks and does all our live gigs. He stayed in like a toddler's room, and there was Jesus pictures everywhere, and it was kind of creepy. But yeah, it's always an experience.
So now, what guitarists are some of your biggest influences for guitar playing?
James Hetfield is my biggest influence, hands down. I think from a very early age, I tried to emulate that right hand. I'm all about the riff. I'm all about the rhythm. I love nothing more than a real tight, kind of put together backing track. I always say this, and it sounds kind of weird, but Lemmy inspired me a ton to play, in terms of the sound and the attitude for playing guitar. I don't think there's anything cooler than, watching Lemmy on stage doing his thing. So, from a visual standpoint, I'd say Lemmy 100%. But yeah, musically, James Hetfield all day long. I think that's somebody who really pays attention to the riff, and that is something that's very important to him, and that's kind of always been the take I've had on guitar.
That's awesome, man. So now, what do you think about concert promoters that do pay-to-play shows?
Concert promoters that do what now?
Pay-to-play shows.
To pay to play shows?
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily about it. I think it defeats the purpose. I understand the reasoning, from a business standpoint, but I think the point of the band, it costs a lot, it takes a lot of time, it costs a lot of money to put, the resources into making the band and buying the gear and recording the songs. And then if you have to play, or you have to pay to play those songs in front of people, it defeats the purpose. I think the reward is that, you have a supportive promoter or booker that does their job, and they promote the show, and, in combination with you from the show, because it's not only the promoter's responsibility, to make sure people show up. But I think if you can take that attitude, that's kind of the payoff, right? You make all the investments as a band at the front end, and the promoter helps you get to a point where you can show people that as an end product. So I'm not necessarily for the pay-to-play thing. I think it's a concept that started and took off, and now a lot of promoters use it as a way to, kind of profit off shows and not have to make the investment.
Yeah. It's like some of these bands, you got to travel hundreds of miles just to come pay to play. Okay.
Right. Yeah. It just is. I mean, and that's because the promoter doesn't want to be on the hook if it doesn't go well. But I think if you're promoting shows, you're assuming some of that responsibility. You know what I mean? You got to make sure that it goes well. And if that's bothering people and handing out flyers and getting on podcasts and promoting it, record shops or whatever, you got to do it. That's the promoter's responsibility to make sure people show up, just as much as it's the band's. Their band's got to promote it too.
Now, what's your opinion on illegal downloading?
Illegal downloading. I mean, at this point, it's so big, and there's really no way around it. I think it's inevitable, and I'm honored by the fact that people want the music, and I want to try to make it as consumable as possible. If somebody's going to illegally download the MP3 files of Absolute Power and they like it, more power to them. I think what's cool about the industry now is that people really care about physical copies, so people want records, people want cassette tapes, people want limited runs, so I think you just have to kind of attack it at that angle. You have to make it something that is maybe a little more meaningful. So people can illegally download it all they want. I'm never going to be able to stop them, but what I care about is if we put out a record, people want to buy that because they want to read the insert, they want to look at the back, they want to get the variant, they want to have the purple one, that's what's important.
All right, now how important is social media to your band?
Oh, it's everything. Social media is the most important thing for bands. 2020. It's how you communicate with your fans. It's how we ask people all the time, what merch do you want? What song do you like the most? Help us build a set list. Where do you want us to play next? That social media is everything. Yeah, bands that aren't using social media, they're probably at a disadvantage.
Now, how many social media sites can we find the band Wraith on?
We have a Bandcamp, an Instagram, and a Facebook. Those are the three that we're probably the most active on. I think there might be a Twitter handle that floats around that we update every once in a while, but I think our Instagram is probably the one that we are the most active on. But yeah, Instagram, Facebook, and Bandcamp are the three that you can catch us on pretty regularly.
Now, you have a YouTube channel, right?
Yes, we have a YouTube channel as well. We usually will post like single tracks or, we did a little music video we put up there. So yeah, we update that every once in a while too.
Now, do you have an online store where people can buy your merch?
The Bandcamp. So if you go to our Bandcamp, there's a merch tab, and that is our online store. So anything you want to purchase from Wraith is going to be up there.
Awesome. Now, what would you consider your 5 favorite bands of a lifetime?
Like the Desert Island bands. In no particular order, probably Metallica, Motorhead, the Misfits, the Beatles probably would be up there, and then like Black Flag, I think I would have to say that's a pretty good representative group of music that I don't think I could live without.
Well, if you like the Beatles, you definitely need to watch the band Rum when they play the Blades of Steel Festival. They do an excellent cover of Eleanor Rigby, man.
Oh, really? Yeah, I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, you should listen to it on YouTube. The studio version.
Okay.
It's like a thrash version of Eleanor Rigby, man.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'll check it out. Yeah, I'm a big Beatles fan.
So, what was the first concert you ever went to?
Probably. Man, I don't know that.
When you first saw them?
So I actually saw them at Bonnaroo. I missed school, and I drove all the way to Tennessee because I knew that they were playing. And at that time, it was the first time they were playing in the United States in, maybe 7 or 8 years. And I didn't know if I was ever going to get the chance to see them. So I bought a ticket. I drove all the way there. There was really not a ton of bands I wanted to see, but I knew Metallica was playing. And, yeah, it was amazing, man. I got there early and stood right in front.
Now, where do you hope to see the band Wraith in, say, the next 10 years?
Oh, I mean, we just want to keep plugging along. I mean, the dream obviously would be, to be as big as possible. But if I can keep putting out records and keep playing shows in front of people that care, I'm as content as can be.
Awesome. Well, Matt, I want to thank you very much for taking time to do the interview, man.
Definitely. I really appreciate you asking, and it was a great set of questions.
Now, you have any final words or thank yous, any kind of stuff before we close?
I just want to honestly thank you and thank all the rest of the people that have supported Wraith so far, and hopefully we can keep putting out music that everybody likes. It's been a real honor.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for being there on the air. We'll do another one in the future, man.
Sounds great, man. I appreciate it. Cheers.
All right, you have a great night, man.
You too.
All right, bye.
Bye.